Hi everyone and welcome back to Strength Training for Cyclists. If you missed the other videos in this series, then there's a link to the playlist popping up now. Be sure to check it out and make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell icon to see more content from us. We've covered a lot of training in this series and looked at what you need to do to make your strength work more cycling specific. When it comes to converting strength training to your cycling performance, what you need are exercises that can help you create stiffness where it's needed and to direct forces in the correct ways. You might have tried things like box jumps and skipping for this, but we're going to show you some different options. For cycling, these are better exercises, so long as you do them correctly. Showing you how is Menachem Brodie of Human Vortex Training. He's a qualified cycling and strength and conditioning coach with over 15 years of experience helping cyclists at every level. If you have any questions about the exercises, then comment below and we'll try to help. Over to you, Menachem.
We all know that breathing is important and can really limit our performances on the bike. But did you know that an exercise that can teach you how to have diaphragmatic breathing can help you recover much quicker in between your efforts on the bike? Now, there is a time and a place for diaphragmatic breathing. Hard efforts, such as a climb or a sprint, is not them. We're talking about most of the time when you're cruising down the road or you're trying to bring your heart rate and power down as quickly as possible so you can go again. The crocodile breathing exercise is fantastically easy, but it is not simple. And what I mean by that is it is relatively easy to do, but for most of us, we get all these different muscle tightnesses, so it's not simple. Let's take a look at how to do this properly. The first thing we're going to do is make sure we have a yoga mat or another clean place on the floor because we are going to be face down. And this is really important. You can have just a regular beach towel if you want, but you want to make sure there is some room between your mouth and the floor to be able to breathe. Now from here, all we're going to do is we're going to come down and we're going to be in a face down position. Now what's really important here is that the hands are stacked and the shoulders are relaxed, elbows flat on the floor and the toes pointing behind you. Now in this position we want to make sure we're in what's called neck neutral, so we don't want to be looking ahead. Now some of you may have trouble with this, you may only be able to do one hand, the other hand can be just on top of the other, or just in front of the other rather, with the head on top of the hand, but we want to make sure we're as spine neutral as possible and relaxing the shoulders. This is a challenging part for a lot of cyclists as their shoulders tend to get really tight and sore, so this is a large part of the exercise. Now from here, if you think about a crocodile laying on the banks of, I don't know, the Nile somewhere, I think that's where crocodiles are, maybe it's an alligator, we're going to focus on relaxing the upper shoulder, relaxing the lower back right where my hand is. And what I want to try and do is actually fill air into my mid and lower back. So right where my hand is, we want to see it rise. Let's see if I can do this here this evening. And I'm breathing in through my nose, and I'm thinking about bringing the air into my back towards my mid back, right in through here, which is allowing me to open up my lower back. Let's see if we can do it without the hand there. Now you'll notice as I breathe, you can actually see my flanks rise just a little bit, kind of like a crocodile. And that's why this is called crocodile breathing, is we're getting you to be able to relax the hip flexors and get a full diaphragmatic breath while breathing into the sides. Now, this is a big challenge for a lot of cyclists and triathletes alike for the fact that they tend to close down the obliques. Now, the obliques are very unique in the body, especially for the midsection. And again, the core is everything between your neck, your elbows, and your knees. The obliques have a very unique attachment and innervation in that there's, nerve-wise, there's 4 different compartments, upper and lower, forward and back, medial and lateral, as well as they tie in, the external oblique ties into your glute max, as well as the serratus anterior, the muscles, the small little fingertip muscles underneath your chest. Now, this can create a very negative impact when you're not able to use one of those muscles. The rest of the chain tends to shut down a little bit because they work in unison. So the crocodile breathing exercise is a fantastic way for you to loosen your hip flexors, the psoas in particular. So the psoas actually runs through the diaphragm muscle, and being able to relax and breathe, the diaphragm acts as a self-massager, if you will, on the psoas muscle. It's really cool as long as you're getting the upper body to relax as well. Now, a lot of people have very tight necks and upper traps, and you'll get into this position and you may feel even like this where your shoulders are shrugging up towards your ears. Your focus then would be on getting your shoulder blades to relax and allow your breath to open up all of your ribs. Now your ribs are going to act kind of like bucket handles. When you breathe in, they should move up and out, and when you breathe out, down and in. However, most of us riding on the bike, we're in a crunched forward position. That's part of the reason why we get side stitches. The intercostals muscles get very tight and then locked down to protect. This is a great exercise to teach you how to relax. Some of my athletes even do it just to de-stress. They just like how it feels when they're really stressed. Now, I don't know if you do that in the middle of a workplace, but it's a great way to help you to be able to bring your heart rate down, change the internal environment, the hormonal environment, and relax a lot of tight muscles that cyclists have. As mentioned at the beginning of the video, it also helps you to be able to decrease your heart rate and bring you back down to normal resting rate so that you're able to go again on the bike. Very powerful exercise, but it takes time. Start with 3 to 4 breaths. Try and do 4 seconds in through the nose, hold for a count of 3, and then out through a relaxed open mouth for a count of 4. When it comes to building speed and explosiveness, a lot of us tend to think about jump rope and box jumps. In fact, there are a plethora of other exercises that fit in between those and can really help us build speed and power on the bike and are very challenging from a motor control standpoint. And this is one of the ways that strength training can and should help you as a cyclist, is getting you better motor control. The snap down is an exercise where we're actually going to be up on the toes, and we're going to teach you how to accelerate yourself and then slow down going down into the ground. There's no actual jumping involved. Now the thing is that the postures and positions and how you're coming down are going to matter a lot. The way we're going to do this exercise is we're going to start off with the hands up overhead. We're going to come up onto the toes. So if you can't bring your hands all the way overhead like I can, just bring them forward and keep your elbows bent. What's most important is we don't want to hinge in through that spine. So we don't want to create this arch. Only come up as high as you can. If here is where you are, that's totally cool. Work with what you got. Now from here, keeping a nice neutral position, my chin is tucked, if you can see that, and I'm standing nice and tall. My elbows are straight. I'm going to snap down as fast as I can. Now in this bottom position, you're going to notice that I'm in a riding-like position. My chest is up, my back is straight, my hips are back, my knees are in front of and over my toes, but my feet are flat on the ground. I'm going to hold that position for a second. Shake it out, count to 10, and then I'm going to do this again. Now this exercise is dependent on the posture at the bottom and your ability to come down fast, not from the hands, but from the hips. Let's do one more together. Starting tall. Deep breath to get relaxed. Up, balance, down. Notice my hands come all the way back behind me. We don't want to stop them here unless you have a shoulder injury or your shoulders are very tight. We want to try and get those hands back, and notice how I'm absorbing that lowering phase in through my glutes, my hamstrings, my abdomen, as well as my calves, and even my arms. So this is a fantastic exercise, really helps you to get better postures and positions as well as explosiveness on the bike. Way back in 2007, 2008, when I started working with cyclists and triathletes on strength training, the kettlebell quickly became one of my go-to and really favorite pieces of exercise equipment for a number of reasons. Back then, it wasn't as easy as going on Amazon or going to your local sporting goods store to purchase them. There was only 1 or 2 websites that actually offered them with any quality. There were lots of plastic cheap ones. But that's aside from the point. Really, what I want to talk about today is the kettlebell swing and why this is such an integral exercise for cyclists to be able to master. Now, this is one exercise that correlates extremely well with the type of strength that you actually need to become a better cyclist, and that is a pulsing athlete. Unlike powerlifters or general fitness professionals who go into the gym and lift weights, lift things up, put them down that are heavy for their living, we as cyclists actually perform hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands of quick pulses as we're pedaling ourselves down the road. Now that pulse is a skill that needs to be developed. And this is why working on your on-bike skills of braking, cornering, using your gears, and how to climb, as well as sprint and just ride your bike are so incredibly important. Refining the ability to create a pulse and control it is at the heart of becoming a much better cyclist. The kettlebell swing, when done properly, is exactly that. Now let's take a look at how to properly do it. We're going to stick with the proper way. We're not going to show the deviations because we can go on for a very long period of time. Now, the important part for this exercise is going to start with the setup. For many cyclists, putting the kettlebell between the feet is going to be common, where you pick it up and then you start swinging it this way. Now, the beginning is the most important thing. How you begin, the joint position is going to dictate muscle function. So if you set up improperly, you're going to have a much harder time of getting what you need out of this exercise. So we weren't going to talk about how not to do it, but that one is important. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find a comfortable position for our feet where we're able to hinge back and keep space in between our legs. So for me, it's going to be just a little bit wider than shoulder width, and I can come back without lifting my toes off the floor and keep a nice hinge position. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to practice a nice hinge position. We're going to take our thumb and forefinger, creating an L on the right hand and a reverse L on the other, and we're just going to slide that crotch of our hands down our thighs, and we're just going to come back and forth. This is essentially the kettlebell swing motion, is going through. The weight is evenly distributed on my feet. I'm not rocking forward onto the toes, and I'm not rocking back onto the heels. Now, from here, to check and see if we have the kettlebell in a correct starting position, I'm simply going to hinge down, bend my knees just a little bit further, and reach for the kettlebell. Now, you'll notice from here I can keep my back fairly straight. Now, let's move on to the white background so you can see a little bit better. We're going to do a hinge a little bit further, and I can come straight. You'll notice I'm keeping my back straight. A little bit too far. There we go. Now, the starting position of the kettlebell is actually going to be angled back at about 30 to 40 degrees. This is important as we want to be able to immediately control the kettlebell to come back and then be able to pulse, pushing from the hips and the hamstrings, pulse up, staying nice and relaxed with our arms acting as gentle hooks up to chin height, where we're going to pulse again with the lats and the abs to reverse the direction, and then bring the kettlebell down. Now, as the kettlebell comes down, we want to pretend at hip level there's a switch. And as soon as we get to hip level, we're hitting that switch, our hips are coming back, our chest stays straight, our eyes stay forward and neutral, not looking straight ahead. And then we're going to repeat again. Pulse from the glutes and hamstrings, coming up, arms are nice and relaxed, comes to chin height, pulse again. The kettlebell is going to return, hit that switch right here, I did it automatically, and come back, pulse, coming back up again, pulse, pulse, pulse. It is very much a skill. Let's take a look at what that would look like with a kettlebell. So as I come down, pulse, 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 pulse. The pulsing is a skill which will take time. The reason I'm saying that is in part to remind myself and in part to let you know that that's something important to go through. Now, when we go through this, it's very important to choose a weight that is light enough for you to learn the correct technique and not heavy enough to pull you out of place. You're not winning anything by going to heavier kettlebell aside from possible back pain and just not getting the results that you need. For those who say, yeah, but I need to develop power, you can't develop power unless you have perfect technique as you go through. Let's take a look at a set of 10 and we'll finish up there. Hinge, reach. It's a little bit too far, so we're going to reset. Really important, if the kettlebell is ever too far, don't drag it back and start from there. Bring it to where it needs to be and then start again from the top. Hinge, down, loose, pulse, 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 pulse. Not 15, but you get the idea. So this is a very difficult exercise to master, and a lot of people will rush through it. If you take your time to learn how to do it properly, get the glutes and hamstrings to be able to fire from that bottom position as you push down, bringing those hamstrings and glutes forward, keeping everything nice and neutral. Collecting here, pulsing down, you're going to have fantastic results on the bike. If you're going to rush through and just have really bad technique, bending your elbows and doing all types of weird stuff, you're going to have aches and pains and not see the results that you're after on the bike or with the kettlebell.
Thanks, Menachem. Building your strength and power to be sustainable and help you ride stronger and faster now and in the future is going to take a little patience. It'll probably take you a little longer than you might like. However, those who make the effort and follow the progressions will be handsomely rewarded, not only in their riding, but how they look, feel, and move in their daily lives. The exercises in this series will provide some really solid foundations for building a strength training program that you can incorporate into your on-bike training year-round. If you haven't checked out the other videos, make sure you do. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Road.cc for more great content. Thanks for watching.